Welcome to Living the Smarter Science of Slim, where we provide a scientifically proven lifestyle for long-term health and fat loss by eating more and exercising less, but smarter.
Eat smarter, exercise smarter, live better. I am so ready for that.
Hey everyone, Jonathan Bailor here with another bonus Smarter Science of Slim podcast, and really uniquely excited for today's episode because we really have a stellar guest here to tell us about a subject that I really hold dear to my heart and really hope that we can shine a light on, because I truly think it epitomizes our smarter approach to exercise. We have with us none other than the two-time Pulitzer winning and Emmy Award winning senior New York Times science writer, William J. Broad, who authored the now out in paper book, Science of Yoga. William, welcome.
Wow, what a drum roll. I've got to play that back for my kids and my mom just to let them know exactly how important I am.
Well, I do side introduction work, so if you ever need, I'm like a hype man. You know, in the '80s,
nice.
When the rappers would come out on stage, and I'm one of those. Like
I love it.
I'm one of those guys. So
bells and cymbals, I love it.
Well, William, let's dig straight into it. And first, I want to hear your story, and then I'll share mine, because I think we have similar paths to how we found yoga and now how we use it today. But then I really want to dig into the science and the why it manifests those benefits that we and so many others have enjoyed. So what's your story, William?
Well, it started back in the dark ages when I was a freshman in college, and I took a yoga class, and presto changeo, it changed my life. It made me feel great. I got hooked. I kept doing it, and I've done it, on and off ever since. It is this, and I'm a gym rat. I do all kinds of stuff, right? I'll go swimming today, and I used to run a lot, when I was younger. I can't reveal my age; that's top secret. But I stuck with it because it basically does wonderful stuff. One of the surprises of the research was finding that there are certain rare things that happen in yoga which can be quite dangerous. We can talk about some of that if you want. But basically, I got hooked, and the fun of the book was finding the objective data that explains it. Like there's this cool team up in Cambridge at Harvard that has written two beautiful studies showing why yoga makes you feel so great. It's neurotransmitters. It's like the sunshine coming on in your head. You do a good routine, and you are lifted up into the glorious heights. It just makes you feel great. And for me as a science geek, it was really fun to plow through that data and get the science explanations.
And William, one thing that I really like about, I watched your interview that you did on the Colbert Report, which is one of my favorite shows, and you did a spectacular job on the show, so congratulations. But one of the points I really like that you made is in your other work, your work with the New York Times and your DuPont winning, Pulitzer Prize winning, and Emmy Award winning work, you focus on oftentimes much darker, less happy, less sunshiny topics.
Yeah, we call it death and destruction.
So but the point you make on the Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, Dr. Death, as they call me.
So, well, and the beauty, though, that the beautiful point you made, which is something I've experienced in my own life, is how yoga in many ways serves to counterbalance that. And it is in many ways a empowering form of exercise, a restorative form of exercise that enables you to do other things better. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, in my own life, you see it in the research. It is so clear. It just, kind of goes on ad nauseum. But yoga, I use it, basically as a stress buster and as a stress management tool. And in journalism, especially late in the day, if you're working on a hard story, it can get really stressful, right? So yoga, if it does one thing, it slows you down. It helps you relax. You get calmed. Stress is undone. Your mood is lifted. Blood pressure lowered. Body refreshed. Hypertension cut. Sleep deepened. All that kind of stuff, right? You're basically teaching yourself how to unwind. And in this world, we don't need any, pointers on how wild it can get. So to have something that goes directly in the opposite direction in such a forceful way is really a gift.
William, that is such a profound point, because one of the great paradoxes I've seen on my journey towards yoga and towards health and fitness in general is health is really epitomized by less stress. Like, we need to reduce the stress in our lives to increase our health. But if we look at the way exercise is traditionally approached and even marketed to us, it's incredibly stressful. And if exercise, if what we're doing for exercise is stressful, that is definitely not what we here at the Smarter Science of Slim would call smarter exercise. Would you agree?
Well, right, I totally agree. But also, beware, because there are yoga styles and yoga teachers who do hit high on the stress, angle. I mean, you can go in there and they will, move you around and chastise you and tell you you're goofing up and you should try harder and get that pretzel pose down perfect, right? I mean, that can be stress-inducing, especially for guys who are not really built for pretzel work, right? I mean, women tend to be intrinsically more flexible, so you got to be careful. Yoga classes can be stress-inducing. They shouldn't be, but especially when you get one of these teachers, who's come out of a yoga diploma mill and doesn't really have all that much experience. And kind of in the back of their head, there's this image of the perfect model on the cover of Yoga Journal, and golly, everybody should be doing it just that way, right? Wrong. They shouldn't. People should be paying attention to their bodies, their own limits, and doing the thing that works for them. That is the thing that really works and becomes this profound unwinder.
I could not agree with you more, William. And I have a quick admission to make, and I want to make sure the listeners are aware of this.
I'm recording I'm posting this immediately. As you make the admission.
Are you tweeting this as I say it right now?
Yeah, better. Hold on, brother.
And I believe, William, I think you can certainly empathize with this as well. I hope our listeners don't hear, when we talk about yoga, talking about, like, here we are on our pedestal and we are yoga experts and we go to the toughest classes and we do the pretzel pose. No. Yoga for me, truly, this is my admission, I read a book that I really enjoyed called Real Men Do Yoga. And the reason I enjoyed the book is it was a chronology of high elite athletes that you wouldn't think would do things like yoga, and how they use yoga very informally oftentimes to counterbalance their very athletic training. And so when I say I do yoga, I'm really focused on the stretching aspects, the breathing aspects. I tried the balance aspects. It stressed me out, so I stopped. So I'm, again, like you said, it's very tailored, very tailored.
Right, exactly. Create an eclectic style of your own that is tailored to your own body. I couldn't agree more, and I'm in the same thing. I pride myself on being a yoga slouch. Right? I do not, hit the high notes that all these people, and especially in Manhattan, or Los Angeles, California. There are people out there who are bodybuilders who do these things as almost circus performances, and you shouldn't try to emulate that stuff. Go at it at a young pace. When medical students first get out of the textbook and go to the anatomy lab and they cut open that cadaver and they look and they see that, wait a second, all the organs aren't in the places where they were in the textbook. Guess what? Everybody's body is different. We're all built in different ways. The organs are in different spots. The muscles and the joints, there are huge differences between men and women. Women have pelvises that are especially built for flexibility. It's very different from the situation with guys. They really should be doing different things. And paying attention to those differences, in my book, is the road to yoga paradise.
And William, one thing I'd like to dig into is a personal story around the benefits you've seen from this very customized and personalized, tailored approach to yoga. Just speaking for myself, the reason I got into it was because I was very much into, this was pre a lot of my research, and I was very much into more traditional athletic form training, and I constantly had back pain, constantly. And we're talking someone in their early 20s. There's no reason for you to have back pain. And part of it was just due to a complete lack of flexibility. I'm not exaggerating. If I stood up straight and bent forward at the waist, the tips of my fingers came maybe 3 inches below my knees. Maybe.
Yeah, mine are like 4 inches down there. Right? I'm in the same place. And I've been doing yoga for, over 40 years, right?
Wow.
I just don't have the stretchiness.
Well, but so to that point, one of the great wins I've seen, so I've been doing this tailored, very informal form of yoga for over a decade now, and cold, I can now bend over at the waist and touch the ground almost with my palm.
Not me. I still am I am genetically unstretchy, which makes me a strange, yoga person, right?
Yep.
But I work at it. But, I do have some strengths, balance I can do, so I go with my strengths there. And also, to me, one of the huge hidden benefits of yoga, and to me, one of the keys of the routine, is that when you go through these postures, and, I first heard this bit of wisdom with Glenn Black, who is profiled at the top of one of my chapters. He's a wonderful, talented yoga teacher. And he said, he was taking us through some very non-traditional stuff. And he said, feels pretty strange, right? Looks pretty weird. Is it yoga? He said, yes, it's yoga if you're paying attention. And that, I think, is a huge hidden secret of how you get a lot of these hidden benefits. Pay attention to what you're doing. Zero in on your body. Feel those sensations. And the last chapter of my book goes into creativity and some of the psychological repercussions of yoga. A lot of it is tied up with that, getting this somatic sense, which turns out to activate your right brain and a lot of the creative centers, and takes you out of that sort of linear, sequential chatterbox part of your left brain. It does all kinds of cool stuff, and it's something that surprises me because a lot of teachers don't emphasize it. They just say, do this pose, do that pose, but doing those poses with attention and following what you're doing, I think, in my own experience, I found deepens your practice extremely and produces all kinds of windfall benefits.
William, you really hit on the core, more metaphysical point I wanted to get across in this podcast. I'd love to just dig into it very explicitly now, and that is...
Don't forget about your sex life too. We got to talk about that.
Oh no, we certainly will. But before we get there,
let's do the metaphysics first.
The metaphysics, and that is to me, one of the major benefits of yoga or any form of restorative exercise is it helps to combat what I perceive as an adversarial relationship with your body. And when you're working in a yogic type environment, or even just a meditative, any sort of restorative activity, the focus is not a battle against your body. It's not stress inducing. Right. It's about centering. It's about calming down. It's about enabling you to do other things better.
Right. Absolutely. Right. You just come into a different balance. Mm-hmm. It's also one of the things, like one of the book, does a lot of demythologizing, right? What's real, what's not, what's fake, what's true. One of the things is that yoga is not a magic pill, because in a metabolic way, a lot of people talk about, revving up your metabolism and burning fat. There's dozens of fat-burning yoga videos out there. It's all nonsense.
Absolutely.
Yoga helps you calm down.
Yeah.
But there are these hidden benefits from what you're saying, from going, to getting in better tune with your body, from becoming more disciplined, from being more sensitive to your inner states and your real appetites. It's going to be easier to push away from the vending machine or the refrigerator or, the fast food or whatever the temptation of the moment is, because you feel so great. You feel better about yourself. You don't have to do stress eating. You have other ways to satisfy that itch. So that, that restorative, getting deep, paying attention to your body and how you feel. Wow. It's just, it keeps having repercussions in all kinds of different areas of your life.
And William, it really, one way I like to characterize what you just described is it builds other mental muscles. And what I mean by that is we have this
good praise, yeah.
Well, there's this dogma in our culture that it's always about more and harder and harder. If you're not getting the results you want, just starve yourself harder. Just run longer. Just go harder. And and what I'm sure you've seen in the research, what I've seen in the research is it's actually not about working harder. It's about working more intelligently and more deliberately. And when you do these kinds of activities, you are strengthening the pull back, pause, think about it, center yourself. You're strengthening those muscles.
You got it. Boy, well put. I mean, I'm signing up for your home study course.
Well,
it's exactly right. You see it in the research. The book reviews a century and a half of research, and you just see, there's a whole chapter on moods. Moods, how do you feel? What's your outlook? Are you depressed or are you in this sunny place? I went to Kripalu on the East Coast in the Berkshires is a big yoga center. And I went there in my research, and I talk about it in the book, for a class on yoga for depression, right? And, a lot of it was pulling back, and a lot of it was stress reduction. And a lot of really nervous, edgy people started that weekend course and came out just, beaming. Lots of happy people coming out the other end of that pipe. And it has to do with the kind of stuff you're talking about.
When William used a phrase there, which I love, which is pulling back. And I want to specifically dig into that for a moment because I get questions all the time around. So the type of exercise I recommend in my work is very infrequent, very intense, very safe, resistance training, as well as restorative training, such as yoga. And the most common question I get asked about exercise is, I want to do more exercise. Like, I want to see more results. I want to burn more fat. So I want to exercise more. The person who is like, I need to exercise more, to me, that is the person who should most do yoga because you have this mindset where you have to do more, you have to do more, you have to do more. And I promise you, the research is clear. You will get results and you will be healthy and happy when you stop thinking about how much more you need to do and start thinking about how much smarter and more intentionally you can do things, right?
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. But there are also in my travels now, having, met a lot of yogis and looked at a lot of the stuff and the research and styles, I mean, there are serious yoga zealots out there that want more and more. There's a wonderful book, which I highly recommend, called Hellbent by a guy named Joe Lohr. It's a beautiful read, and it's about competitive yoga, which is, to me, it's sort of an oxymoron, right? Oh yeah, let's go harder and faster, and more relaxed, right? But it is a good read. It's about, it's really an extended profile of Bikram yoga, or however you want to pronounce it, the hot yoga.
Yeah.
And it looks a lot at competitive backbending, which he did, and it's a delightful read. It's really fun. Almost as good a read as my book.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of good books, Science of Yoga is right up there.
Got to put in a plug, yeah. But no, it really is good. But it's also this sort of underworld of oxymoronic yoga competition, which it's out there, right? And I think, to me, it's not so much yoga, it's America, right? We tend to take everything and just sort of want to push it over the edge.
And I think that's a key for the listeners here. Again, our goal, I believe, William, correct me if I'm wrong, is centering, is restoration, is finding something that helps you be more at peace. And we find certain aspects of yoga help us do that. And if it doesn't do that for you, again, we're not here, we're more into the ends. We believe yoga helps us achieve the means needs to be customized to you. And I like what you said, William, people sometimes they get hung up on the means. It's not about the means, right? It's about the ends.
Yeah, absolutely. And those ends have so many repercussions, which I try to go through in the book in some kind of structured way. You're talking health and healing, sex and longevity, moods and creativity, all this good stuff. The book also talks about injuries, which are a real thing and which some teachers like to deny and poo-poo. It's out there. So, you can get smart about ways to protect yourself from that stuff. But overwhelmingly, the benefits of being able to slow down, just on health, hypertension, heart disease, the number one killer in industrial societies. Come on. You are going to lower your blood pressure if you're doing this stuff. You're going to cut hypertension. You are going to help yourself in ways that you will only be dimly aware of. It pays so many benefits that it's ridiculous that we're hooked on so many other crazy activities that don't pay off so much and tend to cost a lot of money. The thing is, you learn your routine, right? And yoga's free.
Yep.
You've got it, and it's portable. You take it with you, and you've got this feel-good magic pill wherever you go.
That's exactly right, William. And I'll take it even one step further. I was having a wonderful conversation with Dr. Daniel Amen, who has the largest database of brain imaging research in the country and has actually found that these more traditional forms of exercise that are advocated in the Western world, such as chronic jogging or like very high impact, high endurance activities, these can actually cause atrophy in the brain and reduce blood flow when done to the extreme, whereas yoga is going to do the exact opposite and increase brain function, is it not?
You know what? I haven't seen those kind of comparative studies, but it sounds right. And I haven't seen his database, but it sounds good. And, all I know is that on balance, 150 years worth of evidence suggests that yoga does a really good thing. And I'm from the Midwest. I'm naively hopeful, right? that in the decades ahead, this stuff is going to explode. Mm-hmm. We don't need Viagra. You don't need, a zillion pills, and you don't need a zillion workouts. You can do some really simple things that take care of you in wonderful, natural ways. And I'm also naively hopeful that, there will be things like yoga doctors and yoga medical faculty and medical schools, if that's not an oxymoron, where you can, have rigorous science being brought to bear on these things to show the benefits, to learn how to lower the risks, to increase the rewards, to use this incredible lever that comes out of ancient, foggy history, and I think is still in the process of being born. I think we've got centuries of development that are going to happen here, and who knows where it's going to take us, but it's going to be a good thing if it's done in a smart way. And longevity, every serious yoga person I interviewed for this book looked, between 20 and 40 years less than their chronological age. They were youthful. Their brains were youthful. They had a buzz. And now, some of the research shows what's happening on a cellular level. The de-stressing aspects of yoga have been correlated with cellular changes down at the DNA level. It's called the telomeres. Mm-hmm. Little things on the end of your chromosomes that determine how long your cells live. Well, there's evidence that yoga helps produce telomerase, the enzyme that builds telomeres, so that you're actually, this has not been proven. I don't want to hype this, but there's some evidence, right, that, you are fighting the aging mechanism at a cellular level. That's interesting research, and that's going to, plow ahead in the years ahead. And I'm happy to report that some of that research is done with your tax dollars, right? Some of the best yoga research is being done by the National Institutes of Health in careful, controlled studies where they really work hard. You have to, people don't realize how hard good science is. You have to get away from the placebo effect. You have to get people away from thinking themselves into the states that the scientist is anticipating. And you have to be very clever in experimental design. Well, good news. Your tax dollars are doing that. Your tax dollars are producing whole interesting groups of studies of yoga that are very carefully controlled and delineating how these different benefits and how these different effects happen in the body. It's good stuff, and there's going to be more of it in the future.
Well, William, we are all about living better through modern, simple science. And listeners, I could not recommend a piece of work any more highly than William's book, which is, again, now out in paperback. So it's really not going to break your bank, really worth the sub $10 investment. It's called The Science of Yoga, subtitled The Risks and Rewards. So, again, this is not some treatise by a gentleman who owns a yoga studio and is just trying to promote it. He's also going to go into some of the things you want to watch out for. And there's a wonderful scientific component in there, and it is truly a meaty exploration of the topic. I would highly encourage it. And also, please check out William's website to get more information. It's williamjbroad.com. Also an excellent resource. William, I want to thank you so much for sharing this insight with us today.
Jonathan, it has been really cool. I enjoy your shtick. You've got a wonderful thing that you're doing, and I wish you the very best. It's good stuff.
Oh, well, thank you so much, William. Well, we'd love to have you back on the show in the coming months.
Absolutely.
And listeners, please remember this week and every week after, it's about smarter, not harder. And in fact, you can eat more and exercise less as long as you do that smarter and achieve lifelong health and happiness. Talk to you soon.
Wait, don't stop listening yet. If you like the podcast and if there's other ways we can help you, please join us in the Smarter Science of Slim support group, which is freely available at the Smarter Science of Slim website, smarterscienceofslim.com. There you'll find all kinds of free recipes and success stories and just all kinds of fun stuff, like how to help your kids go sane and just great community content.
And just one last thing before you go, if you wouldn't mind heading over to iTunes and up onto Amazon.com and leaving us a review, and then going over to Facebook and liking us, we would hugely appreciate it.